The other sort of company that I've started creating that have done a bunch and it's worked as well is basically I'll just find two people with distinct profiles and I'll hire them. And I'll ask them to take like a small haircut on their current salary, something that's just like more symbolical, let's say like 10% less. And I'll just pay all the company's expenses until the company works or it doesn't. And I take not 33%, but I usually go like usually take the majority of the company in those cases.
Yep. And has one of those produced stronger outcomes, or does it vary by those two outcomes?
No, not really. It's like, so what I end up doing is this second style where I take the majority is I usually end up doing it where I feel like more secure on what I'm doing. But they've both been equally successful. So I really can't say one is better than the other. It also has to do with like the amount of risk I'm willing to get, because some companies get expensive. If you put so what says 50K now, it's usually more like 100K for this sort of thing. And the other model can get expensive fast. If you are paying, we have some companies that have people in the US and they're losing money and we have to pay salaries every single month. So really it depends. It's more like what do the founders want more than me.
Yep. And how do you know when to cut an idea off? Or I guess how long do you go? Do you evaluate at a 3-month, 6-month, 9-month sort of process in the first year? Or how do you think about that?
So there's two basically angles to that question. First is when we're evaluating the idea. So evaluating the idea is usually a 2-3 month process. Sometimes it's just throwing that landing page, throwing some traffic to it and seeing what it responds. Sometimes it might be like B2B sales. So we might be start knocking friends' doors. Hey, can we get a contract for this? And just going through there and seeing what the result is. Sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, we just go blindly. For sometimes you just have to throw the spaghetti out and see what happens. And the other sort of thing that I learned with time that is that we also need to basically co-date with the founders. Because for me, the number one thing that I care about is having fun right now. So we also meanwhile we're evaluating the idea, we're actually evaluating each other. I tell them we actually signed a contract that says when we're done evaluating the idea, they can choose on their own, basically me having no say, that they do not want to continue with this. And everything that we've done, they can keep. That way, if they don't think I'm adding value to the equation or I'm not adding enough value, because the money that I'm investing, I don't think it's enough. It's the added value is where the actual value is. And if they don't agree, you're free to go. And at the same time, that opens the door for me. It's okay, are these people really that good? Do I actually enjoy working with them on a day-to-day basis? And those things matter as much. And just keeping that door open for a few months, I think is super important. Life's too short.
Mm-hmm. And so for the 50,000, is that intended to be a one and done investment from you? But you said sometimes it's 100. How do you think about kind of how much money to put in and when you're putting in money?
Yeah. So when it started, this was 40 years ago, inflation has hit Latin America as well, just not only the US, sometimes a little bit more than 50K is needed. So the way I look at that amount of money is how much do we need for the founders to be able to work on this full time for a year, have enough marketing budget, and just have some SaaS tools and to be able to do that. And they should be able to start generating revenue soon. If they don't start generating revenue in month 2, 3, or 4, it's not going to work. We're bootstrapping companies here. We're not we go venture back. We're going to build out this product for 2 years and then we're going to launch. So the idea is how expensive will it be for 2 people to work on this full time for a year, have budget to do marketing, SaaS tools, and everything that's needed. That answer right now, depending on where they live, which country, and all that, is anywhere between 50 to 100K.
Yep.
And then an interesting thing you're doing is hiring pairs or partnering with pairs of co-founders. Seems like one who's a builder and one who's a seller, kind of the way it sounds like, which is interesting because you and I have operated kind of similar models, but I've always gone for kind of similar founders. But if I look at my biggest hits, there have been ones where the existing founders that I've incubated have partnered up and then gone. So how do you think about that? And then how are you how are you like navigating putting the pairs together? Do you expect them to come in as friends and colleagues already or coworkers? Or are you expecting, or do you match make with them? How do you do that?
So first on why 2 people, not 3, not 1. And it's just basic statistics. Statistics are like way unlikely. Like 1 founder, they can definitely do it. I'm not against single founders, but if I had 3 founders with me, that would be 4 people, and we can't tie break that way, right? Like it might be like 2 and 2, like on a decision. So if it's just 2 and me, it's 3, and like we need to make a decision, it will be easy to reach a majority on the decision. So that's why it's 2, and those are the 2 main roles to find. On if they come together or separately, surprisingly, like before I started, I would thought it really matters that they're like friends, that they've known each other from the past and all that, and like it truly makes no difference at all.
Mhm.
I like basically probably the most successful companies in my portfolio, I just introduce them randomly. We do have like this really interesting process that we run, which I stole from First Round Capital. So VC firms sometimes do things well, and this is one of those things, which is like they output a document called 50 First Questions. Have you guys seen that?
I've seen a version of it. Yeah.
It's a really cool document where it's just like questions, like the questions that like might make you break up in the future, and it forces you to put answers down now. So I make each pair of co-founders go in depth for hours on end the 50 first questions, and I ask them and make sure questions. Okay, like if we get an acquisition offer, like how much do you want to sell for? How big do you want to go? Like, I'm not looking for people to tell me like I want to create a unicorn. I couldn't care less. Like for me, success is like you create a company that does like 10 million revenue with 34 million profit every year. I love that. I think that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
But like some people might want to shoot for that, and some people might want to shoot for like something smaller or like much larger. Or like some other people will have kids and the others won't. So what does that mean in terms of time? Like it's just there's so much stuff to put on the table. And that's where like the 50 First Questions document really comes into play. And those 3 months to get to know each other as well.
Yep.
So sometimes like if there are issues, sometimes it may not be with Indy, it might be with each other. Like it has happened that like they're like, okay, I don't really respect that co-founder as much. And that's completely okay too.
One of the things that I think is interesting about this model as well is I imagine you're doing a bunch of different types of businesses, that there are certain companies, maybe that's like the media stuff or the staffing stuff where, these capital light businesses up front, like they don't need to ever take on venture. You probably don't need to reinvest much or anything them. I guess with these different models of thinking of like SaaS and now possibly, even some AI stuff versus more traditional businesses like media and staffing, I guess, how do you think about like reinvesting in the company? Like, should we be reinvesting versus just taking cash out? I think, one of the things of like incubating a couple of companies myself, and obviously you and Girdley doing this at a larger scale, but like with my companies mostly being venture backed, like you never take any money out. So it's like that decision is just like set up front to be like the structure of this company is as a C Corp. There's no advantage to taking money out. It's really hard to take money out with investors. So all the revenue that we get just gets reinvested, and we keep raising more money to keep reinvesting. But obviously now owning a couple of agency or staffing businesses myself, I see the need to, cash flow these things, and we're all taking money out of them. I guess, how do you strike that balance? And is that more of like you advising the founders on here's what I've seen work well, or is it more of the founders back to that 50 questions about like what they're looking for? Like, I just want to make $1 million a year personally. I don't really care about reinvesting once we get to that, $10 million mark.
Yeah, so I think there's kind of like objectively true answers to that, and then there's some subjective ones. Objectively, the company should typically not keep more than like a handful of basically monthly expenses cash out, right? Like that should be like sort of limited. So either you put a good plan to kind of like grow, or you take the cash out. You just don't want it sitting there in the company just because. So that's the first thing. Second is it depends on the company on how much can they grow or not. There's some companies out there that like no matter how much you're going to throw at it, it has a limit on the growth potential, right? Like, and you have to reach those limits. Just because you can put more money towards it does not mean the company warrants it. So that's kind of like the other. The third thing, objective, is like kind of like the founder's opinions really matters. Like, do they want to get dividends out? Like have they made their first million? That's a really important. When people make a certain amount of money, let's let's even put like less than $1 million, let's put like the first $300,000, they just relax. So sometimes what I push for is like take those savings out, like fully relax from a financial perspective. If you have any debts, like pay them off and save your money, or like have like 2 years of living expenses saved up. And then I see their mind shift into this growth mindset. Like they stop worrying about like their present and are able to go for the future. So that's another thing that kind of like I think is objectively really important.
Yep.
And then from it comes to this part, like like it's like what do you want out of this? Like, do you want a huge thing, or like are you happy with this meeting? So I kind of try to respect like the founders. They are the ones that like they're like burning the midnight candles. It's not me. That's like that is the truth, and I have to respect that. So like I let them decide almost everything. Like I only veto a few things, like just to protect indie. And I've never had to use it. I just let them decide. I even let them decide how much they should pay themselves. Like I don't even I really saying on that. Like they should pay themselves well, like and meanwhile it's logical, pay yourselves like really well. So that's kind of like the other thing.